Deemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, welcome to this Thursday's edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Are gas stoves homicidal maniacs? I want to get into that. I guess the question of the day might be to have or not to have a gas stove. Obviously, there's been a big debate on Twitter going on about that. It looks like the federal government is retracting any idea that they might have to ban gas stoves outright. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the importance of that and what the left is doing. But also, I don't want you to be distracted from this story, although we are going to dive into it a little bit. I don't want you to be distracted with this story by all of the things that are happening in the media. And I want to go on a rundown of those particular things here, things that have popped up in the headlines for today. All right. But first, I do want to encourage you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are found. Again, you can go to Apple, you can go to Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. One easy route or a couple of easy routes to go is SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You can find me there. Also, thecarljacksonshow.com. Make sure you put the word "the" in front. Please follow me on social media. I need to build up on Facebook. Facebook is obviously throttling me down. One of the ways in which we can have victory, if you will, over Facebook is if you guys will follow me there, like, share, and review. Do the same on YouTube, Rumble. Wherever you find me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. And don't forget, My Pillow, their great deals still haven't gone away. All you have to do is use my promo code, use my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call at 1-800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. Take advantage of their deal that they have right now on their My Pillow towels, a 6-piece towel set for only $39.98. I'm not lying to you when I tell you those towels are the bomb. So give them a call, 800-858-0263. Or if you prefer, go online, mypillow.com. Just put my name in the radio listener square. And any deals that they have available, if you use my name, will be applicable to you. Okay, let's get into some of the news of the day. Obviously, the big news is still the Biden crime family. There's been additional classified documents that have been found in Joe Biden's possession from his time as VP, but in a separate location other than the Penn Biden Center in Washington, D.C. So this guy, listen, guys, we all know this. He is corrupt as all get out. But here's what we got to do. We can't let this story die down. We saw what they tried to do with Donald Trump. We saw how the DOJ, FBI, they raided Mar-a-Lago. They knew this information on November 2nd, yet Merrick Garland, AG Merrick Garland, decided to sic this prosecutor, Jack Smith, a special prosecutor, Jack Smith, on to Donald Trump for having classified documents on or at Mar-a-Lago, despite the fact that he had Secret Service agents there, despite the fact that he was a president. And so being president, he could declassify classified documents. Biden never had that authority as vice president, yet he did it. And now we find out there's at least a second location. Call your congressman, call Republicans. Listen, this is why we got the House. Call your congressman. We cannot let this story die down. This is the solution. This is the solution. The House Freedom Caucus fought last week so that we would have a bigger voice and have a bigger say with the House. So call your representative and tell them that you do not want them to let go of this story, that if they're going to try to drag down Trump when he can legitimately or has the authority as the president, as former president, to declassify classified documents, Biden cannot get away with this. This is completely unlawful for him. And to sit here and blow smoke up our butts and lie and say that he didn't know what was in the documents, give me a break. If you took the documents as vice president and stole them, in my opinion, it's because you knew exactly what was in them. And obviously, we are learning that issues when it comes to Ukraine, Iran, and the documents contain information on Ukraine, Iran, and even the UK. So the guy is a complete and utter liar. Here's what he has done. He's extended the COVID public health emergency. We're not under a public health emergency anymore, but by extending this health emergency, it gives the federal government powers to do things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. Powers that kind of lie dormant, if you will. They're not supposed to go against the Constitution, but the federal government takes additional powers. They can tell people to stop working, as they did. They can dish out money to people in need, just like you see with hurricane relief out here in Florida, so on, et cetera. So they're not letting go of that. I mean, Biden has special powers as a result of that, special emergency powers. A lot of people in the blue states, a lot of these governors may cling on to that. That's what they did during the 2020 elections in order to use mass mail-in voting, so on, et cetera. These people just don't want to let go of power. This is why you can never give them extra power. The FAA slowly comes online after massive technical delays causing cancellations yesterday. Pete Buttigieg was ragged all over the internet yesterday as well. He should have been. The guy's totally incompetent. He talks a good game, but he is not ready for prime time. He wasn't even ready to be mayor of Fort Bend, Indiana. People there, even black voters, Democrats that voted for him, said he was a complete and utter disaster. The Democrat Party, as they always do, ignored the people that they were serving, and they went ahead and gave him a pay raise and a promotion anyway and brought him to Washington, D.C. Makes no sense whatsoever. Here's really good news. Representative Mike Gallagher is going to probe the China-friendly corporations with a new committee to China to hold them accountable. So this from Washington Times, the incoming chairman of the new House's Tough on China committee is putting big tech, Disney, and the NBA executives on notice as the panel prepares a probe into the Chinese Communist Party's growing influence within the U.S. All right, so you have Representative Mike Gallagher, who will oversee the House Select Committee on strategic competition between the U.S. and the Chinese Communist Party. So the sellouts in big tech and Disney and the NBA, should be the Communist Basketball Association. They have been put on notice. They have been put on blast. The good thing is that Democrats, along with Republicans, overwhelmingly voted to set up this committee. So even Democrats recognize that there is a real consumer threat when it comes to China. Obviously, we weren't even able to get supplies timely when the pandemic first occurred because China was making all the products. We weren't manufacturing many of the products. Dumb as hell to do so, to rely on a communist party, a communist country for our medical supplies, but we were dumb enough to do it. Hopefully we'll be smart enough to wake up. BlackRock is set to lay off 500 employees. I hope BlackRock crashes. They're evil people trying to infuse these ESG scores. Federal officials are racing to retract the idea of banning gas stoves. We're coming back to that in just a second. And another great, listen, the GOAT has struck again. The GOAT has struck again. The greatest governor of all time, Ron DeSantis, has struck again. Florida legislature looks to ban China from purchasing land in the state of Florida. Now, I told you guys about some information that I had received from a friend of mine that where China was purchasing this farmland here that I had no idea about. So I did a podcast on that. It was several months back. Thank God more people have been getting into Ron DeSantis' ear. This is a guy that is willing to take action. He leads. He listens to the people. How hard is that to do? Not enough governors do it. So he leads. And now you have the Daily Caller reporting that DeSantis confirmed at a press conference on Tuesday that he supports banning China from owning property in Florida, while at a press conference announcing his project to restore Florida's Everglades. DeSantis confirmed that the state legislature has an appetite, good, to ban Chinese Communist Party or the Chinese Communist Party influence in the state, including China's Chinese purchase of Florida's residential properties. Actually, it should be all property. So I'm going to call again to make sure. It shouldn't be residential. It shouldn't be commercial. They should ban everything. They shouldn't be able to buy jack squat in the state of Florida. And I hope that's what he means. But I will be calling his office and I hope you guys will too. Actually, wherever you are, make sure you call your governor. Make sure you call your congressman. This is very important. China cannot defeat us. They are a communist party. Okay, now, let's get down to the nitty gritty. If I can find my notes here, Gabe. All right, so are gas stoves homicidal maniacs? Oh, if you ask the left, if you ask AOC, they are. But here's what's really going on. Hat tip to David Harsanyi at The Federalist, wrote a great column on this. But how many of you knew that gas stoves were homicidal maniacs? I didn't know, right? I'm sure you didn't know until we were informed of this by these brilliant leftists this week. And obviously, I'm being facetious. Only tens of people die every year from gas stove. Yeah, that's right. You heard me right. Tens, as in 10, 20, 30, 40. Tens of people die every year from gas stoves, and probably not for the reasons you think, but I will get into that as well. And let me just say this from the offset. Electric stoves are actually far more dangerous, and there's evidence and there's stats to prove that. So what's really going on? Guys, let me take you back to a time and day. Gabe, have you ever owned a gas stove, or do you now? Are you there? Okay. All right. So he used to back in the olden days. All right. So we grew up. My family, my mother, my father, my brothers, my sister, we grew up with a gas stove all the time. We absolutely loved the gas stove. Today, I don't have a gas stove. My family and I, we don't. We have an electric stove, but that's only because that's the way the house was set up, when we purchased it. But one day, I'd like to build a house or buy a house that has a gas stove and that has a gas fireplace. Not a gas fireplace. Actually, I'd prefer a natural burning fireplace, but that's another subject for another day. But at least a gas stove. I really like them. I like the look. I like the way that you can control the temperature. I like seeing the fire. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not an arsonist. But I remember as a kid, one of the things that I used to love doing, if you were poor, you're gonna be able to relate to this if you were poor. All right, so we didn't have a lot of money growing up. We ate a lot of cornflakes, and we ate a lot of bologna. All right. I would find all types of different ways to make bologna taste good. One of the ways in which I would do it was, sometimes I would toast bread. I would throw a little butter on the bread. I didn't want to overly toast the bread. I wanted, just that medium crunch. You know what I'm saying? And then I would get a piece of bologna or two, and then I would throw them on top of the open flame. Yes, I had skills as a kid, and no, I didn't burn down the house. But it taught us objective truth. Flames are hot. All right. So you knew not to mess with fire, even while you were messing with fire or cooking. So I would throw the piece of bologna on, I'll let it get that little sizzle. You could see it like bubbling over the open flame. And then you either get like a little tongues, or if you were real skilled, like I was, you would flip the burrito over, just get the tip of it, flip it over onto the fire, watch the other side kind of bubble up, and then you knew you had a good piece of bologna. And that's what I would do. So here's what's gone down as far as this gas stove versus electric stove debate has continued to go on online, but obviously it's going to be shutting down. But Comrade Richard Trumka Jr., his father used to be the, what was he, SE, one of those Richard Trumka that passed away. I think he was head of the SEIU, one of the union bosses. Made tons of money, a big time insider, but was made out to be a hero when, in my opinion, he wasn't. But anyway, a Comrade Richard Trumka Jr. of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission did consider unilaterally banning gas stoves, or at least notes the Washington Post did, of improving standards around the amount of toxic fumes such stoves can spew into America's kitchens. So this is what he said. I wonder if Richard Trumka came up with this idea himself, because he's not a legislature. He's, head of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety and Commission. I wonder if he just thought of that randomly by himself. A guy that no one elected. I wonder. He just exists in one of these bureaucratic states. I told you last night on Officer Tatum's show that what the left wants to do is create this administrative state. And basically, you have no say so. You're so far removed from the powers that be that these bureaucratic agencies just run America. So as of right now, a person can't just spew, quote unquote, as much of this gas into the air as they desire. This is what the left wants. They don't want you to be able to turn on your gas stove, flip over your bologna, or warm up the house a little bit. That's something else we used to do when we were kids. Turn on the fire, stand away from the stove, because I believe in objective truth, and I knew that fire could kill. Right? Common sense. Just like kids, you fall off of a bike. Guess what? You learn how to ride that bike better. You get burnt by fire. Guess what you learn to do? Step back. Fire is a good lesson, a good teacher, I should say, in objective truth. So sometimes we turn on the burners just a little bit, not long, just heat up our hands a little bit, when things would get a little cold. I lived in California, so that wouldn't happen all the time. But on occasion, it would feel a little nippy in the morning or even at night, because, there were times where we lived in California gets a cool breeze at night. One of the things I absolutely love about California weather, it could be hot, but it's dry during the day. And then at night, you get this cool breeze. That's one thing I really do love about California. Unfortunately, their policies suck, so I don't want to go back. All right. But now, getting back to the story at hand. All right, so sensing the cue from the her progressive masters, AOC took to Twitter the other day, and she started talking about, all of a sudden, she jumped on the bandwagon. Oh, gas stoves are bad for you. The NO2, the nitrogen dioxide. By the way, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know what nitrogen dioxide was before I read this, because I haven't taken chemistry since I was 13 years old. And so I have forgotten a lot of this stuff. New CO2, because you hear of it all the time. But apparently the NO2 is a homicidal maniac, and it's contained within gas stoves. So AOC, she took the cue, she took to Twitter, and she tried to go on a rampage. Never mind the fact that she had never used the word stove, quote unquote, in a tweet before. Never mind the fact that she didn't even mention stoves in her Green New Deal when they banned cars, they banned planes, or they wanted to, and they promised every American needed to go on a diet, no cow farting, all that kind of stuff. But they didn't mention stoves. But all of a sudden, AOC gets hip to stoves, and oh my God, we got to ban stoves. And then it turns out that she's smarter than Representative Ronnie Jackson, who happens to be a doctor, who happens to be a physician, who happened to be Trump's physician, and who also happened to be former President Barack Obama's physician. So apparently, AOC was smarter than him when he took to Twitter and basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, over my dead body, are you taking my gas stove? And I understand why Ronnie Jackson would say that. He probably likes bologna sandwiches and staying warm in the winter months as well. So, anyway, there was a little exchange there. But Ronnie Jackson isn't giving up his gas stove, and neither should you. But here's where it turns out. This guy, the comrade Richard Trumka Jr., didn't just come up with this idea out of thin air, even though it would be arbitrary. He was kind of prodded. Who was he prodded by? Well, none other than comrades Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, and Cory Booker, and other lawmakers, numerous other lawmakers on the left, wrote a letter to the CPSC in December, warning that, guess what? Wait for it. You know what gas stoves are, Gabe, don't you? You know what's coming. Gas stoves are racist, people. I don't know if you know that, but gas stoves are racist. Now, I gotta tell you, in all the years growing up around a gas stove and cooking my bologna sandwiches and my turkey ham sandwiches too, those were really good. Cooking my turkey ham sandwiches, warming up by the fire, I never heard my gas stove call me the N-word. But apparently, gas stoves are racist. Yes, that's how the left gets away with everything. Either racism, right, or climate change. That's how they get away with everything. Those are the buzzwords that grease the skids for communism in America. That's how the left does it. It's amazing. So anyway, gas stoves are apparently racist. They said nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and fine particle matter basically was targeting Man, I didn't know this. Targeting Black, Latino, and low-income households. So what happens is when these gases are in the atmosphere, or I guess escape from gas stoves in the atmosphere, they go and search out Black and Latino people because they want to murder them. I guess that's what's happening, according to comrades Bernie Sanders, comrades Elizabeth Warren, comrade Ed Markey, and comrade Cory Booker. Man, obviously I'm being facetious here, but isn't it amazing how dumb they think Black and Latino people are? You ever get insulted? You should be insulted. These people really think you're dumb. But these ideas can't pass the scrutiny of legislation. You can't have an honest debate on the floor of Congress about gas being racist, NO2 being racist, carbon monoxide being racist. You can't have a smart, legitimate argument about this, right? You can't. Only useful idiots would buy into this argument. So what do? You circumvent the will of the people, and you go to Comrade Richard Trumka Jr., who's an eager leftist as well, and you say, hey, let's ban gas stoves. Let's do that, right? This will give us a little more power, help us to scare even more people. People will buy into our argument of man-made climate change, and we can control more people. So thus far, again, the CPSC said they had no immediate plans to ban gas stoves. So Blacks and Latinos don't have that to worry about. You're not going to be murdered anytime soon, I guess, right? I mean, at first they were such a threat, but all of a sudden the CPSC, as the news sits today, listen, we have no immediate plans to go forward with this kind of stuff. What was going on? This is a trial balloon. This is what happened earlier with the Green New Deal. You remember the first time AOC came out with the Green New Deal, and I forget the other congressmen or women that she was working with, and they came out with this Green New Deal. And at first it was just this gigantic thing, but it was a smart political play. You come out with the stupid idea, the biggest stuff that you want, all of the stuff that you want. You go for the gusto, and you set that trial balloon out there, and then you get yep. All these people like myself and others that say this sucks, this is wrong. You see how your side and your base feels about it, and then you say, oh, come on. We didn't mean that. You know, just moving on. Nothing to see here, but it's a trial balloon. You want to see where the people are. You want to see what the people are willing to endure, or what legislation they're willing to accept. So you float these trial balloons, and that's exactly what they did initially with the Green New Deal. That's what they're doing here. There's a couple underlying problems. David Harsanyi writes about it in the Federalist. First and most obvious, that progressives have zero limiting principle of governance. They want big government. They want to rule everything you do. They want to rule what if you buy a gas stove, electric stove. They don't want to just oversee the federal branch of the government. They want to supersede every a state and local and city ordinance. They want to rule every aspect of your life using the federal government to do so. They want to be authoritarians on the macro level, the bit larger level, and on the micro level. And this is representative of this gas stove versus electric stove debate. This is all about control under the guise of climate change. That's all this is. The Consumer Product and Safety Commission is only the brainchild of Comrade Elizabeth Warren. Again, the second point is, again, they just want to they want to circumvent the will of the people. That's it. They want to use these bureaucratic agencies. That's why I'm saying we need to, as people that love America and love the Constitution, it's not enough to cut funding with some of these departments. We've literally got to amputate some of these departments. We really do. Because all the left wants to do is whatever they can't get accomplished, if they debate in front of the people, what they want to do is accomplish it through the administrative state. And that's very dangerous. And that's how dictators rule. All right. So it's all about control. The state has no right to dictate which stove you can have. Here's what David Harsanyi writes. Electric stoves are probably far more dangerous to an average family than gas stoves. Of course, nearly everything we do is imbued with some level of risk. Isn't that true? Even if we step into our cars, we're risking life and death if we get into an accident, right? Refrigerators, dryers, computers, and dishwashers are likely just as dangerous as your stove, he writes. When the state is imbued with the power to pick and choose which risk it can abate, It can basically do anything it likes. And that's the real issue. We cannot allow the government to grow bigger. Now, I did a little research for you because it is a doggone lie that gas stoves or electric stoves are safer than gas stoves. Just like it's a lie that if you drive an electric car, that you're somehow doing a better service for the planet. You're absolutely not. As a matter of fact, when it comes to electric vehicles, do the research yourself. Stop listening to the lefties. Just go watch. You can go watch the production of an EV, and in just the production phase, the EV does mining all of these minerals that they need just to create a battery. Does far more damage to the environment than a gas guzzling vehicle. Far more damage, and not while they're on the road necessarily. And even that's not true, because the rubber that they emit, the products that they use, and the components that are used, minerals, whatever chemicals that they use in the rubber of the wheels on the electric vehicles, they spew out a lot of gunk into the atmosphere, if you will, because the batteries are so heavy. So the tire wear on those things are even worse. And then what are you going to do with the batteries when you have to get rid of them? Those batteries are extremely corrosive, and there is absolutely no plan. There's no plan. Democrats never have a plan. They just have the words. They just have the idea. They have this utopian idea, much like Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris. Every time they say they want to get to the root causes, that's code for, we don't know what the hell we're doing. I mean, this stuff is nonsense. All right. So now, tastingtable.com. Gas versus electric is one of cooking's most spirited debates, they say. Professional chefs have long lauded gas stoves for better temperature control and easier maintenance, according to All Area Appliance Service. So gas stoves, better cooking, easier maintenance. But what happened? All of a sudden, some chefs are starting to like electric. Why do you think they're starting to like electric? Is it because electric stoves really work better than gas stoves? Or are they learning to adapt to electric stoves because they want a virtue signal? Yeah, it's the latter. You are absolutely right. You're a genius. You're absolutely right. They just want to virtue signal. So you have a chef like this, I guess, TikTok chef, John Kuhn, who recently spoke out about his preference for electric, namely induction, citing climate and safety as the reasons. Except he's being fooled, like all the little lemmings that buy into the climate change nonsense. All right, so, but California, once again, one of the states that are destroying the entire United States, especially under Gavin Newsom, recent scrutiny of the gas stove's environmental impact turned people away from the once preference gas stovetop. So it starts in California. In 2019, California took direct action against gas appliances. They banned gas stoves in the construction of new buildings, and in conjunction with efforts to curb climate change. So they just virtue signal. And then a Stanford study ironically backed them up. Of course, I shouldn't say ironically. I should say conveniently, a Stanford study backed them up. Yes, woke Stanford. So again, this is all about climate change. This is all about control. Now, let me give you some stats. According to a 2020, let me read this first. Yet while electric stoves may be better for the environment, the report says, by the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA presents a significant con for electric, a safety hazard that has households across America seeing red. Household with electric stoves reported greater fire risk. Let me read that again. According to the National Fire Protection Association, households with electric stoves reported greater fire risk. So according to the 2020 report by the NFPA, households with electric stoves reported fires at a rate of over 2.6 times higher than those with gas stoves. Not 2.6%, 2.6 times higher. Reported fires, the NFPA reported fires with electric stoves that are 2.6 times higher than those with gas stoves. Equally staggering, the death rate of electric-run households was 3.4 times higher than those with gas appliances. And the injury rate, listen to this, was nearly 5 times greater. They just lie. They just lie because they're power hungry. There is no debate between gas stoves and electric stoves. This is America. Buy whatever the heck you want. But make sure you call your congressman. Listen, we finally have a voice in Congress. We haven't had in quite some time since Nancy Pelosi has been ruling. So call your congressman and say, we want this nonsense to stop. We want this Consumer Product Safety Commission brought down to size. If not, I'm not even sure if they need to be around. I'm not. I'd have to do a deep dive research into what the heck they do besides bow down to comrades Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But this is just another game, just another ploy. It turns out that gas stoves are not suicidal maniacs. So there, I've answered the question for you. Hey, listen, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. If you will, please subscribe to the podcast. Again, you can go to Apple, Google, Spotify, go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com, thecarljacksonshow.com. Follow me on social media, please. The Carl Jackson Show on social media. And don't forget My Pillow products. Any product you want that is on special. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 1-800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. Use that promo code Carl. I don't care if you need towels, slippers, you name it. Whatever My Pillow has that is on special, use that promo code and you'll be privy to major discounts. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.